Good evening, everybody. Can you all hear me? And did you hear the game sounding okay before we get going? So I got it's Workshop Wednesday this evening. So I have found 3 workshop routes to play, and I've made up 2 scenarios on these. So forgive the relatively weak scenarios. The purpose of the session is to actually look at the routes. But the first one we're going to look at is the Great Eastern Main Line by Traction Depot. Then we're going to look at the New York Division Bergen line by Minerman 146. And after that, we're going to have a look at a model railway that's been made in the game. That just gives you another idea of some of the things you can do in Train Simulator. It's ingenious. And has a personal connection to me, as some of you will know. Right, so we're starting off... the model railway was by Phil Tier, and we're running a scenario by Stephen Jam on that route, just to complete the appropriate credits as we go down. So we're starting off tonight on the Great Eastern Main Line. Let me get the scenario started. This is a Steam Workshop route. Everything tonight is Steam Workshop, and nothing required except for the stuff that you buy in DLC already. So there's no additional downloads except for stuff from Workshop and the DLC you're already owning. This particular route is the Great Eastern Main Line by Traction Depot, and what it does is it extends the Gemmell London to Ipswich DLC all the way to Norwich and finishes the line, which is impressive. So let me just wait for this one to load. Is it possible to add a DLC of the GE-8 for Union Pacific? Make sure you've suggested that on the appropriate forums, Assured Splash. Anything is possible. If there's lots of demand for it, that tells us and helps us prioritise what we're doing. Do I get the workshop error? What's the workshop error, Keith Moore? If anyone's got any questions, obviously fire them my way. I'll do my best to answer them and talk about the routes as we go. So I'm running the Armstrong Powerhouse Class 90 pack, which is available on Steam. Just because it's exactly the right livery, exactly the right train for this route. We're here in Norwich. Let's just have a quick look around. I'm not under any kind of time pressures. This is community built, so it's important to realise that this is not a dovetail route. This is an extension of a dovetail route, and quite a substantial one. So we start off in Norwich Station, and then as the train proceeds south, we'll go via Crown Point and make our way. And I'm going to be finishing this journey at Ipswich, since everybody's already familiar with the London to Ipswich leg. We're going to go down as far as Ipswich and drive past my parents' house. Since I haven't been there in a long time, I thought that's a good thing to do. So let's get the key in, put it in forward. Sounds. Right. Probably going to tell me I need a numeric keypad for that. Yes, you do. Right. Let's keep an eye out for that then. Right. So we're all got the system's switched on. Don't need a clipboard light. Let's put the instrument lights on. Marker lights on. Don't need tail lights. Cab air treatment is probably fine. I'm sure there's a headlight switch in here somewhere, but I can't. Oh, there it is. Headlights. Let's go for daylights. Excellent. Right, well, I've got no passenger stop at the start, so let's just get going. Why was last night's stream postponed? So across a large amount of industry, not just the games industry, but across a large amount of the world, social media was blacked out yesterday. So everyone stopped posting on social media yesterday because of events going on in the United States. Everybody felt that there were more important voices that needed to be heard, and Dovetail participated in that by not posting any social media. We didn't host the stream just to allow those voices to be heard more clearly. Right, so we're proceeding south out of Norwich. Pretty quiet, but then it's an electric, so there's Norwich Crown Point Depot. Norwich Crown Point Depot at the moment is actually filled with all the new trains. The last time I was up here, it was had a bunch of older trains in it, but they've got all the new flirts are in there now. So I've got a yellow filter there. So this is Norwich Crown Point Depot, and that is leading off to the Wherry lines and Yarmouth. Hopefully it'll cross me over to the correct track at some point. I must admit I've not checked. Am I familiar with Dutch trains? I am very familiar with Dutch trains. We're not doing any 10 PM streams tonight, Moricom. They're all at 5 PM this week. So the team are reviewing the feedback and the stats to work out what we do. And we may not do 10 PM streams. We may move all of the streams to a little bit later and not do 10, maybe do 8 or 9 or something. But we are still trying to figure that out. I've got a horrible feeling this is going to wrong line run me all the way to Dis, so I do apologise that my scenario is rubbish. But let's just enjoy the scenery and ignore the fact that I might be on the wrong tracks. So 19 miles to get to our first station. So I've put in the stopping points of a normal service running in this way. Oh yeah, red light. This means we may not be getting any further. Why? Why have I got a red light? There's no other trains. But I can see me firing up the editor in a minute, and yeah, I'm on the down line. I need to be on the other line. Shut up, you. Right, let's press Control E and just fix this, shall we? Editor hype. Oh dear, oh dear. There's no scenarios on Workshop for this route, so if you want to use it, you do kind of have to make up your own scenarios, and that's a common issue with a lot of the the routes. And you can help essentially by downloading these routes, or the routes are on there, and upvoting them. Then you can help the author more quickly get the routes to what they call a final state. Once routes are in a final state, then it's possible for other developers to create scenarios and share them on Steam Workshop. And this route isn't in its final state yet, which means that no one can upload workshop scenarios for it. So even if they don't have them, download them, take a look. There is usually quick drive support, so with quick drive support you'll be able to so let me route this via with quick drive support you can play the routes even without worrying about that. So let's put a flag in here and put that up there, and instead we will route that via Norwich up Colchester, which is there. That's now moved the red line to the correct path. Well, hey, let's just have a quick fly down and make sure the path is going to make sense going forwards. Using the editor is easy. If you're a little bit intimidated by the editor, don't be. There are tutorials by various people, including myself, on YouTube that will help you get the basics of the editor. I'm just checking. I'm just flying down at the moment to make sure that the red line is on the left-hand side, or on the left-hand track rather, so that we don't have any more problems as we go down. And that's Ipswich there, so we're all good. Right, let's press play. And I'll just restart that to avoid any signalling problems. So while you test scenarios, that would be exactly the right thing to do. Unfortunately, I wrote this scenario something like 12 minutes ago. Right, let's try this again, shall we? This time with feeling. Turn the DRA off, and let's get the marker lights on, the instrument lights on, put the headlights on, and go. And let's just hope we have a little more luck this time. Right. Slight feeling of deja vu. Yeah, I feel like we've been here before, doesn't it? And away we go. And hopefully, fingers crossed, fingers crossed it won't go wrong this time. Right, so up to 25. Yes, Keith. So one of my colleagues is going to be posting up links to all of the workshop content that I'm running today. And like I said, download the routes and have a look at them. There's thousands and thousands of scenarios to look at. There's lots of routes and some really amazing stuff, which hopefully you're going to get a glimpse of today. And the point of Workshop Wednesday going forward is to actually give you all a bit of insight as to the stuff that is available on Workshop, and to encourage you to go and have a look. And also, if you've made your own stuff, share it and let us know. Maybe we can feature it on a stream. So I'm not only going to be running routes on the coming Workshop Wednesdays, I also want to be looking at scenarios as well that people are creating. Hey ACP Virtual. Switch is set correctly this time. And we've got green lights. Way. Monty, this is indeed the Armstrong Powerhouse Gemmel Class 90. When will I drive a Dutch route? Well, there are no Dutch routes on Workshop or on Steam, Marius. When there are Dutch routes on Workshop or Steam, I will be playing them. Something crazy. Where are we today, Rui? For 1 second. We just left Norwich. We are heading south. So this is the route. So this is Norwich up here. This there. This is the route you know as the Wherry Lines, Crown Point Depot. We're heading south. The route then proceeds down round to here. This is the Ipswich station everyone's familiar with from the Gemmel route. Sorry, I'm just checking my speed. And then this is the route, this is the Felixstowe area, this is the Mayflower line, and then this is the line coming down here. Now I think, remember rightly, this is new for this route as well. I can't remember what the ranch is. This is our South End Victoria Ranch. So is this the Crouch Valley line out of Shenfield or something? Yeah, Shenfield. So there's some really interesting extra stuff going on here that's above and beyond what you're familiar with. You do still need to own the Gemmel route to be able to use this, and there's a number of other bits of Workshop of Steam DLC that you need to be able to run this content. It's all outlined in the Workshop page. This is called Great Eastern Main Line, all 4 words, Monty the Horse, and it's by Traction Depot. Right, pull full power and away we go. You're having problems sharing routes, Frazzlegun? I believe I actually did a YouTube tutorial showing how to do it. It's not hard at all. Absolutely phenomenal how much effort goes into these community routes. I hope you'll enjoy that. The 3 routes I'm showcasing today are absolutely phenomenal routes. They expand the gameplay that you have out of the routes that you've got. This one expanding the Gemmel to complete the line up to Norwich, so you can do the full end-to-end journeys as well as adding the branch line there. But then also, can you hear me all right? Is the volume okay? Volmic, I did change the bitrate. We're currently running at 4,000. And then the next one that we're going to be doing, the New York Division Bergen line, which goes in a different direction to all of the other routes around the Hoboken area, but gives you effectively the Bergen main line, if I remember rightly, is what we call the main Bergen line. So it's a nice fast express run, this one. I am going to be looking at some Steam era stuff as well, Dom, and I agree the Swindon Stroud route is particularly good. But I can't do it all in one night. Is it possible to have a green signal have the next signal be a red? If you're only in two aspect, only me, that's exactly what would happen. If you're in 3 or 4 aspects, then no, you'd always have a yellow before a red, and a double yellow before that if you're in 4 aspect. Got a bit of a speed up now. So 14 miles now from Dis. What train is this? This is the Armstrong Powerhouse Gembel Class 90 Sabre, which is in on Steam. How do you mean the TSW background theme, Taylor? Horn? Go a little ways down here. There's no good level crossings or anything. Let's sit in a field. Going down a hill, cut the power off. Oh, themes for the console, Dale Taylor. That's not a bad shout. Yes, I think a few people have asked about that. There's no passenger view on this train, I'm afraid, Arsenal Fan TV. It would not be the first time my tow lights aren't on, and it will not be the last. A little bit of brakes on. That lagging is loading data off of the disk. There's probably a lot of scenery assets it's loading in, and it may be that my machine could do with a reboot. It's a fabulous route, Frazzlegon, it really is. There's some really amazing stuff on Workshop. It's a treasure trove of additional content, whether it's additional gameplay into scenarios and so forth, or additional content in terms of routes that you can use. You never have all the route requirements. So here's another little tip for you. When the Steam have a look around at the stuff that you're interested in Workshop. Make a note of it. Make a little spreadsheet or something, and make a note of a link to the Workshop items that you're interested in, and a link to the items that you need to make it work that you don't own. When the next Steam sale comes on, have a look through the list of things that you're interested in terms of Steam Workshop, and see whether or not, because you might find that there's 6 things that you want on Steam Workshop, and there's 3 or 4 that are common that will enable you a bunch of Workshop content. So go and have a look and see. And Steam sales are a really good time to pick up the extra content that maybe you're not necessarily interested in. Some of the routes that this one needs. I think Francois posted the dependencies up on this earlier on. But if you're not interested in the some of the specific content, so this one needs, for example, the Bury lines, the South London network, ECML London's Peterborough, that sort of thing. So if you don't have ECML London Peterborough because you're not particularly interested in London to Peterborough, but this route is right up your street, then you might find that there's other content that you want, and when it comes on in sale, it's a great time to just hoover up the bits that will help you fill out your collection and allow you to access a lot more content that you might be more interested in over on Steam Workshop. Lorenzo, this is, I think, is a maximum 100 miles an hour railway. It's high speed for Suffolk, or Norfolk at the moment. Yes, I think Sam is on tomorrow showing off the new Class 43. No, I haven't, Danny, sorry. I must admit that slipped my mind. I'll make a note and try and give that a look. Samuel, yes, this is the Great Eastern Mainline route that's on Steam Workshop. I'm showing content today from Steam Workshop. This is our Workshop Wednesday stream, which is a new event. Let's call it an event. And I'm going to be trying to find some cool Steam Workshop content, whether it's routes or scenarios, and showcasing some of that stuff off and shouting out to the authors and giving them the credit, and encouraging you to go and have a look at Workshop, and indeed share your own content at Workshop as well. Let's have a look at the route map again. This is quite a substantial route. This is London Liverpool Street. This is Ipswich, and this bit, the route that they've added, is from Ipswich to Norwich. 4.3 miles now to Dis, so we're making our first stop slowly. I believe that's the case, only me, yes. Just don't turn the alert or the ATC on. You'll still get the in-cab indications, but it just won't cause emergency brakes. Because you can't drive the M3 or the M7 without the cab indications, otherwise you don't know what speed you're supposed to be going, since all the signalling is in the cab. .3 miles. The Class 90 is great fun to drive. Remember also that for driving in the other direction, you can drive the DVT as well, which has got a slightly different cab to the Class 90. So again, it's different, an interesting experience. Mark Shortall, you're enjoying Train Sim, didn't think you'd like it, gave it a try, now you're hooked. I hear that so often. But it's really cool to hear. Every time. Wolves and Trains, you don't buy the Norwich extension, it's on Steam Workshop, it's a free download, created by a user called Traction Depot. All you need to do is make sure that you've got the requirements. It's got a list of DLC requirements you need to own. And then once you've got those DLC requirements, you just download this from Steam Workshop. Full credit to the author, Traction Depot, for creating this. And sharing it freely with the community. Silly question, if games for consoles are made on PCs, why can't Train Sim routes be made for console? I'm not quite sure what you mean, Zedgy. I think I might reboot my machine after this scenario. My hard drive seems to be having a meltdown. .2 miles. think my pathing has gone wrong. I think that was probably this. It was, but on the wrong platform. Oh dear. Shall we see how far we can get going? Yeah, this is a problem when you try and make something quick to show on a stream. It's much easier if there's content already available on Workshop, because you know it works. Oh, it's a terrible scenario editing Crucible. I took full responsibility for my rubbish scenario. Got to at least try and get to Stone Market so that you can wave to my mum and dad. Train Boy, I made the scenario, not the route. Just because I wanted to demo the route. When I looked at the official timetable on real-time trains, it just said it stopped at this. It didn't say what platform it stopped at. It told me what platform Stone Market stopped at. And I forgot to go back and double check I'd picked the right one. Never mind. Vexing Chunk, every route project has to have a defined scope. There's always an extra couple of miles here and half a dozen miles there that will add, and it all adds up. So every project is defined and scoped, and that's how it's constructed. Train Boy, quit trolling. The final thing is the make final thing on the page, yeah, Frazzle. So an option on the route. And if you've had enough upvotes, then you can oh, nice one, Francois. If you've had enough upvotes, then you can make the route final. Where have we got to? We're right down here. Well, that DVD is a pain in the neck. It really is. Is that Stone Market? That's Stone Market. What does making it final do? Once a route is made final, you can no longer upload changes to it, but other people can then upload scenarios for it. The problem is that once a route, if people start uploading scenarios for a route, and then you go in and change something about that route, you might break all the scenarios, and no one would know that it's broken, and it just becomes a mess. So what you do is, if you want to add upload a route and still allow yourself to make more content, clone the route, upload the cloned version, you carry on working with your route if you're making your own content, and that way the cloned version will never change. When you want to do another version 2 upload, clone again, make it version 2, rename it to version 2, and upload that as a new route. And that way people, when they download scenarios, will know whether or not they're downloading it for version 1 of the route or version 2 of the route. Once you get the hang of it, it's an easy enough process to follow, and it just means that you don't end up with a load of broken scenarios on Steam Workshop. That's why it's there. What route is this? This is the Great Eastern Main Line from London to Norwich, and it extends the Gemmell Great Eastern Main Line steam route, which goes London to Ipswich, and it adds the Ipswich to Norwich section. We're almost at Hawley Junction. Brookshire, you love the East Coast Way on trains to Melbourne, brings back good memories. It's fantastic, isn't it? I enjoy it myself as well, but I'm glad you are too. It all takes time, Vexing Chug. And all projects have to be defined with a set scope. I'm not sure how else I can answer you. Once we come round Hawley Junction, we'll be getting ready for Stowmarket. There is a Somerset and Dorset line as well, Baked Bean Kid, I'm sure you're aware of it, that runs, extends the line all the way down to Bournemouth, which is a really, really interesting drive. It's a really good steam challenge as well. The thing to do there is to run the line from the south, from Bournemouth, run all the way up until you hit the gradient of the Mendips. Because if you've not been looking after your steam engine, then you'll have been fooled by the flats, the relative flats of the bit south of the major climb, and all of a sudden you'll find your locomotive is not ready to run that hill, because it's quite a steep run up over the Somerset and Dorset. It's great fun. I'll probably pick that one actually for one of the sessions. We're almost at Hawley Junction, so this is the line that heads off then to places like Bury, St Edmunds, Ely, March, Peterborough, and yes, that does link up with the East Coast Main Line in reality. I checked actually on the West Somerset Railway for Chopper and it does appear, Doc Mag. I didn't think it would, but apparently it does. Shattered Dreams Parkway. These days, the 90s have just these trains have just about been removed from the line now. This is the Hawley Junction where the line in from Bury, Ely, March, Peterborough is coming in and joining the main line. I'm going to put a bit of brakes on now because I can't remember where Stowmarket is exactly down here, but. Yeah, the 90s have now left the Great Eastern Main Line in reality. It's now the flirt trains that run up and down here. Which are really cool actually. Stowmarket! So whenever I'm train, well, I used to go train spotting with my dad every weekend. Every Saturday morning we come down here for a couple of hours and we do some train spotting. And you got these two level crossings that approach as you come up into Stowmarket. And what you'd hear as you're sitting on the platform is you'd hear for trains coming in from this direction, you'd hear the distant level crossing go off. Moments later you'd hear the level crossing just at the end of the platform go off, and then you'd see the train go through. So the level of anticipation that built up when you're standing on the platform and you could hear the two rounds of gates coming off was really cool. Do you think the guard on the services ever announced the station as "This is Dis"? Who knows? Alright, we're coming up to Stowmarket Station. So this is the outer level crossing. And then the inner level crossing is here. It's a really, really good, actually, rendition of... maybe the garbage. We don't really have the garbage in Stowmarket, funnily enough. I'm going to get all uptight now about excess garbage that's not there in reality. And this has actually got the new bridge in it. This bridge never used to be there when we were train spotting. This is relatively new. We'll stop and open doors and then we'll make the run to Ipswich, which won't take very long. Yes, this is Stowmarket with a rather overpopulated car park. Car park normally only goes up to about there, and there's bits and pieces over here. But it's a busy area. Don't think these sidings exist anymore, but the loop line was here. We used to, when we were train spotting, it was in BR Blue days, and so Dad and I would basically be sitting here. This is kind of where we'd sit. In reality, there's a brick wall over here, and we'd see a 47 come through, and there'd be a 37 rock up into here. Oh, I could spend hours thinking about it. Brilliant days. Shut up, you DVD. Right, let's run to Ipswich. No. Probably should put it forwards. There we go. Yes, we did. This was yeah. I was with Cameron actually one of the Christmas breaks, I think, and we did a stream from that end of the platform. So yeah, this is my local platform. This is where I grew up when I were a boy. Anyway, let's focus on driving trains before the brakes get slammed on. The SDs and DVDs are different things, Trainboy. DVDs are the newer ones. Yes, the Aventras are inbound, Callum, aren't they? Yeah. They're delayed from what I understand. There's another bridge over here, so this is when you come off of the A14 route, you come down. You've got the ICI building, which I guess is this area over here. Or is it Munton and Fison, something like that, the fertiliser place. And then you've got this this bridge coming down here, which is the link road between Tesco on the left, the A14 further to the left, and coming into the town. Is this road here. The external camera usage punishment system, yeah. Driver vigilance is something like 30 seconds or 60 seconds, Trainboy. No, it's a pretty rubbish bridge to spot from Glenegg up. Beyond rubbish, in fact, I'd go as far as to say. Right, so now we're making the relatively short run down to Ipswich, which is down here. And in reality, the train would then carry on and run to Liverpool Street, sorry, in London. Trainboy, I'm going to be showing 3 routes today. This is the first one. We're going to be in the Bergen line next, and then the One House Model Railway third. Is that Newmarket or something? It was Needham Market, sorry, Needham Market. Newmarket's the other way. Day off, spent mostly dating a free roam on the West Somerset. Nice. Class 20 does add another layer to TVL, yes. Jay, so yesterday, lots of companies, including Dovetail, ceased posting anything on social media or doing any kind of streams or announcements or anything in support of the Blackout Tuesday. If you don't know what it is, Google it. Well, we took 2 visits to the Class 20 baked bean kids, so the best people for the job got to go and play, and I got left back in the office. How are we doing? Not too much longer. Ease that speed down a bit. Oh, shush, Volmig. You're best off getting that detail from Rivet, Blaze. It's a campaign to reopen the Ivanhoe line connecting Leicester with Burton on Trent via Ashby de la Zerch. Excellent. I'm vaguely familiar with the name. Yes, I heard we were getting the 707s, Callum. Just leave it at 60-ish. Do workshop items go on to DLC? Do you mean... I'm not sure what you mean, Basil. Do you mean eventually do you have to buy them? No. Workshop items are workshop items. You can just download them. What you do need to do is own the DLC they require. So a workshop item will say, I need this route and this route and this route, and maybe scenarios need these bits of these locos. So you have to own all of that stuff and have it installed, and then you can just download the workshop item to use all of that stuff. Almost at Ipswich now. Tantalisingly close to Ipswich. Well, at least it allowed us to finish the journey, even if I did goof up the platform at this. Nigel Penn, the support team, are a bit overwhelmed at the moment, and they are getting through the requests. But if you could just bear with them. they're going as fast as they can. Some lovely bits of detail here. I think this is using a lot of the detail assets from Trent Valley. Anything can be made in TSW, Taylor, including railways that never even existed in the first place. When you choose to design a locomotive, based on what will you select its livery? Oop, press the right button. What's appropriate for the route? What are there any liveries that people have more specifically asked for? Operators they've more likely to seen, new livery operators that we've not used before. Perhaps there's an opportunity there. What's the most likely that will be running on the route? There's a number of different things that are taken into consideration. Yeah, I need my foot pedal and my smacky button back, don't I? Coming on up Ipswich platform 2. Got the yard here, which is north of Ipswich. And I believe at this point we're on the original Gemall line that's on steam. So yeah, if you like driving the Great Eastern Main Line, London Ipswich, then take a look at this. Or if you like driving some of the high speed things. I will give my machine a reboot before we do the next one. Alright, we're coming up on Ipswich Station. That platform on the left there, you generally have a bubble car or a DMU sitting in there running to Felixstowe or up to Lowestoft. And this bridge down, there's a tunnel down here, which is really interesting because in order to make it compatible with the modern European freight containers, the tunnel wasn't big enough. Oops, pressed it one too many times. Never mind, we stopped. And in order to make it compatible with the containers, they dug it deeper. So essentially the track sort of goes down into the tunnel because they couldn't really dig up on the tunnel, so they just lowered the rails essentially so that the higher containers could get through. So there's loco servicing, so you quite often find units and locomotives sitting down here, and there's 3 or 4 fuel tankers sit here basically to supply all the fuel for these things, which is all managing the freight depot around here. But this is Ipswich, another one of my periodic haunts. It's amazing how much you can recognise from places. Especially with the right train in there. Yeah, this is a commonplace for the 90. Another funny story for you just before we go on. So a friend of mine, one of my previous roles was a network, or not with Rail Track, I think at the time, or British Rail even, employee. And when they were rolling out sprinters, the sprinter DMUs to replace the old Class 101s, they one of the places they ran them up and down was the Great Eastern Main Line, obviously, and they ran it into this platform and stopped, and they got out and stretched their legs, and everyone was good. The test was running quite well, and when they got back in to the train to carry on and do the next leg up to Norwich, they couldn't make it move. It wouldn't move. And what had turned out was that because this platform is curved, and because of the nature of the way the platform is and so forth, what happened is that you've got the platform edge here and you've got the DMU, and on the outside of the DMU there was a cut-off switch, like a button, like an emergency button you can press. And what happened is the button had gone hard up against the buffer, against this platform, and cut the engine out. So they couldn't start the engine on this DMU to get it out of its platform. They had to get a loco to come and haul it out, clear of the platform, so that they could then presumably clear off the damage from the switch and get this thing to start again. And then they carried on doing it. But it's just some of these little things. They've got slightly more scientific ways of testing these things now, rather than just actually doing it and finding out the train gets stuck. But one of the things that came out of that is those things have now got big metal bars around the thing, so that if that was to happen in a platform again, it would hit the platform side and just, lean the train over, I guess, or scrape platform away so that you don't have a problem. Or at least there'd be a massive noise. But yeah, I thought that was quite an interesting story about how this thing, because it was only a minor, it was like millimeters. It pushed the button in. It was almost like it pushed it gently in or something daft. It was such a near thing, and it just meant that they couldn't get the loco started again. Oh dear. Anyway, that's Ipswich Station. So, folks, that is the Great Eastern Main Line by Traction Depot, and that one is on Steam Workshop. All of these routes are on Steam Workshop. As with all Steam Workshop routes, there's a bunch of stuff that you need to make sure you've got. The dependencies will be listed by the author in the route, yes, go ahead, download it, give him some thumbs ups, and hopefully that will encourage Traction Depot to make the route final. And then there'll be some scenarios that will be able to come up as well. All routes come with at least one quick drive, so you don't have to worry about the fact that there's no scenarios available. All routes do come with at least one quick drive. And had I thought about it, I probably would have just used the quick drive, but I'm not quite that quick-witted. So I made a scenario instead, which took longer. Right, so that is that route. Let's move on. Let me just switch back to the menu in case stuff that shouldn't be shown shows up. And we move on to the... Oh no, we're going to reboot. We're going to reboot. That was why we're going to do it. Hang on a second, folks. I'm going to lose the chat for just a minute, so bear with me. Oh, so the machine is just rebooting now. Which you won't see, of course, because I'm not using my capture card. I thought I could be clever, but never mind. So yeah, give me a minute or two. So the next route we're going to be looking at is the Bergen line, the New York Division Bergen line by Minerman 146. And this one starts out of Hoboken and heads north onto diesel lines. It's a superbly detailed route, really superbly detailed route. And it's taken a lot of work for himself and his son to actually put this route together, and it's been extended over over a lot of time that they've been working on it. And the route was actually, I noticed it got even further than when I last looked at it, so it's still being worked on. So it's but it's an impressive line, and this one that is available, I think, for getting scenarios, but again, I didn't find any. So, but I only looked for a minute. But make sure that you give them you download the routes, give them the thumbs up. I'm just waiting for Steam has decided to update itself now, so that's great. Thank you, Steam. Let me log back into chat so that I can see what kind of misbehaviour everyone's getting up to. You've been fine, haven't you? I'm sure you have. Right, my chat window's up. Everyone give me some GGs. Because I actually managed to remember to reboot my machine, which I promised I would do. Can you answer if you know something about Czech vehicles or routes in TS2020? A community might do them, but there's none in there's none on Steam from Dovetail. Right, you fire up Train Simulator. You give me an HH, Steam Master. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm firing up the wrong game at this point. Why the reboot? So the stuttering and pausing is because my SSD gets progressively slower until I reboot it. Don't ask me why. I don't understand these things. It doesn't help I've just started the wrong game. Firing up Train Sim World instead of Train Simulator. The sound on TS2020 64-bit has stopped working. The only thing I can suggest is you contact support on that one. Oh, the game will run significantly faster. Because it's a high-speed SSD, it shouldn't stutter at all. But for some reason, a stutter builds up and builds up and builds up to where it becomes more like what you're seeing there. I don't actually use this machine except for when I'm doing these streams now, because I use my laptop for a lot of stuff. Which is why I missed it. I normally like to reboot the machine before a stream. Right, Train Simulator is now coming up. Yeah, I don't know why it stutters. Even the other, I've got two SSDs, and Train Simulator still does it on the other one. So I can only assume it's actually the controller that's doing it. Because they're not cheap SSDs; they're decent quality ones. Workshop can be a bit tough to navigate, Kargan. It can be a bit tough to navigate, and I will give you a quick tip actually once the game is up on how to find routes, because it's not obvious how to find routes, but there's a sneaky little trick that you can use to find them very easily when the game finish loads. It's possible, JP. It's possible, but it's just literally a reboot. It's not like switching it off for any amount of time. It's just literally a reboot. I assume it's a buffer that's building up. Right, we're nearly there. Apologies for this. Should have done it before we started. Rob, are you judging my lack of English? The cats are both doing very well, only me. I literally have to keep the door shut now all of the time. Because if I open it 5 minutes later, she's in knocking stuff over. She's like a thug. She really is. So I'm going to bring up the workshop screen in a minute. And I'll just show you some tips on how to navigate. Right, workshop, quick browse. Right, so shut that window. Let me switch this back to here, and boom, there we go. We're all working. So this is Steam Workshop, and I got here from the drive screen, the workshop tab, and clicking the browse button. So this is Steam Workshop here. So if we, for example, search for Great Eastern Main Line, this is the route I was just running here, and you can click on the route, and you'll see some nice screenshots that the author has shared for the route. And there's a subscribed button. Subscribed is basically download, and then you can see the route requirements the author has kindly listed here, along with other information that he's sorted as well. And then there's discussions that go on here with the people that download it and all sorts of things. So there's, as you can see, 14 pages. It's been pretty well discussed. And this is Traction Depot's link, so you can find out what else he's done. But if you're interested in finding other routes, the tag you're looking for over in this little array here, this sort of tells you it's an electric route. It uses the Model as Asset Pack, UK LED signals. the things that disappeared a little while ago. Work in progress tells you that this route can't have scenarios added for it yet. This would be replaced with the tag final if you could upload scenarios for it. It uses the East Coast Main Line, London to Peterborough, South London network, Trent Valley. Don't have to worry too much about what these ones are, but that tells you what the dependencies are. Also Great Eastern Main Line, Wherry Lines, and the European Loco and Asset Pack. So you get some idea of the dependency, or a good idea of the dependencies here, in addition to whatever the author has mentioned down here. But if you want to find other routes, look at this route tag, and if you click a tag, it will show you all other items which have that tag in it. So this is a good way of finding all of the routes like that. It's a really good way of just listing, and there's some really good stuff. So this is the Rural Railway one we're going to be running in a little while. Wickham Branch is a particularly nice one off of the Great Western Main Line. You've got the Blackwood Creek, and you'll find there's some really awesome stuff on Steam Workshop. So this is a good place to go and look. Our very own Danny has got all of his merge routes on here. So this is North, South, West London and Thameslink. This route is particularly enormous, if I remember rightly. There you go. So this is Brighton to Bedford, South London network, and looks like the Goblin line and all sorts of other things included in there. So these are mega merges of routes. They're all available as well, and we'll probably be running those over the course of these Workshop Wednesdays as well. So that's just a brief idea. If you've got any more specific questions on Workshop and how I can help you there, then let us know, or let me know, and we'll try and arrange that for future streams. Meanwhile, let me just switch over to find the one I'm going to do next. Right, so we've got the Bergen line coming up. Yes, everything on Steam Workshop is free, but you do need to have the DLC that it says it needs. So a workshop route, like that workshop route we did before, I think needs about 5 routes. So if you've got those routes already, then you can just download that. If you don't have those routes, you'll need to buy the DLC routes first, and then you can download the route and use it. So that's what I say. If the dependencies sometimes are going to be maybe for things that you don't care quite so much for, and because it's maybe content you're not so interested in. This route, for example, this route requires Munich to Augsburg. The route that we're loading at the moment, the Bergen line, uses assets from the Munich-Augsburg route. Now that's probably not high on the list of a lot of German train enthusiasts, train sim players, to be picking up. Just give it a minute to load the assets. It's like half a job to set up on this one as well. So hopefully this time I'm still louder than the train. Again, we'll just give this a minute. So, but this is where, so yeah, if you're not interested in the route specifically for the route's sake, maybe it's a good time to make a note of it, and when the next sale comes up, there'll be a few items that you think, well, if they're nice and cheap in a sale, then I can pick them up to get access to content like this that I really want to play. And if you're interested in this sort of general area of the world, this is a really good route. You're going to like this one. Sherman Hill, New Jersey Transit, and North Jersey Coastline. There you go, Derek. Thank you. Turn the train down a bit. Right, I think we've sorted now. So let's just go ahead. So before we actually start driving, I'm just going to fly around Hoboken, because this is not the Hoboken that's the same Hoboken, as far as I can recall, that is in the other routes, the other New York routes. The author completely relayed all of Hoboken, and there's a number of really nice little touches. One of which is this. He put the this signage on the building. Now you remember in Workshop you can't create custom assets. So Workshop routes can only reuse existing assets. And if you look up really close, he's actually built this out of component parts to make up what he's looking for to achieve this. So there's this is common theme that you'll find throughout the route, is that there's been a lot of attention to detail in terms of reusing and being really creative about how assets are put together. Right, it's time to go. We're driving the NJT GP40 with the Comet 5s, I think they are. It's a Comet 5 cab car anyway. Hopefully my quick 5-minute dodgy scenario is not too dodgy. How to find workshop routes or scenarios based on routes and locos we have in workshop. So that's if there is a flaw or a weakness at the moment in workshop, it is constraining the list of things that you can find to only the things that you can run. So you can search for tags based on, for example, I want something that uses London Brighton, but then it will show you things that use London Brighton and other things. So that's where it does get a little bit tricky. So what you need to do there is just look through the list to pick out the things that that interest you, and then look at the dependencies and see whether or not there's something that you've got everything that you need for. It's certainly an area that can be improved in the future. Cabralicious, this is Train Simulator 2020. Why do I get the feeling this is routing me through the yard? It's routing me through the yard. Never mind. I'm fine with that if you are. And that drops us back on the main line. So yeah, all good once we get through the yard. I'll show the map in a minute for this one so you can see. It's quite substantial. And it focuses on the... so this is Hoboken, and this heads north. So you've got the northeast corridor coming down here. You've got the North Jersey coastline essentially coming down that way. Chemical Coast down here. And then you've got the this route that comes here. You've got a Norfolk Southern Yard here. I can't remember what it is. Croxton. And then you've got this coming back up. That then comes up here, all the way up here. You've got this as a Ford factory, I think. That then comes all the way up here, and there's all this stuff. I've not even visited this area of the route up here. It's quite a lot of it. I think this is about as far north as I've been on the route. And we're today going to be driving to Glen Rockborough Hall. But yeah, focusing on the diesel trains, I think offers quite an interesting and different experience. Now there is another route by another author that I can't remember off the top of my head, which covers the Passat Valley, which I think is the one that goes up that way. Remember rightly? It goes up sort of that way and up there, if I remember rightly. So as another author has done the Passat Valley, including this down to I think a sports stadium. So there's actually a number of really good NJT route offerings on Steam Workshop. But like I said, the really interesting one is that this uses Munich-Augsburg assets. And the reason the author has done that is because it's a different flavour of assets, which makes the route feel unique and different compared to other routes around it that you might be using. So it's a good reason to go pick up things that you might normally not pick up. Thank you, Paul. Looking forward to it getting out there. FDOR20. This is the New York Division Bergen line, Bergen, by Minerman146 and his son. Jack MC. After this, we're just gonna have a bit of a light-hearted look at Phil Tier made a model of my dad's model railway, and it's amazing. And so I thought we'd run that and just have a sit and watch some trains for a little while, just to finish up the stream. Next station is Secaucus, street level track H. It's one of the reasons I'm not showing it because it's the one house model rail, because it's my dad's. I'm actually showing it because it was a really cool demo of something really different and unusual that you can make. It's a fantastic model of the railway, but it's actually a really, really interesting and unique thing that Phil created. That's what's coming next, Jay, yes. I'm going to slow down in a minute for the 15, which is the sharper right turn. Paddy Pro picked up all the TSW stuff that's East Coast. So it took a little while to find out what trains could run the Heritage Service. Oh, so you picked up your DLC collection so that you had all the trains that could run on East Coastway. Neat. So I don't know why Valley Corridor is showing up. Chances are that the dependency on Valley Corridor is a mistake, F-door. I don't know why that's showing up, but you can probably safely ignore it. Speed up properly in a minute, although we're slowing down in 1.5 miles anyway. I put the stops in roughly that the real service would do. But as you can see, look, there's some just amazing detail with this route. So has anyone got their own favourite routes on Workshop that they've been playing? What are your must-have recommendations that you want to pass on to people? We had the Swindon-Stroud route earlier on. Someone uploaded a version of Settle Carlisle set in the 1980s, which also extends it to Skipton and Hellifield. I mean, it's BR Blue. Perfect, in my view. There is a model of the Bluebell as well, so people are at Preserve Railways. There's a number of options for Preserve Railways on their Frazzle Gun. Someone's done recently, Golden Goldsmith did the Dartmouth Steam Railway, which I've not actually had a chance to have a look at yet myself, but the screenshot was rather stunning. Right, this is Scorcus. This is the East Coast North East Corridor station up here, and we're on the low-level platforms. There's no locomotives on the Workshop. No, it's scenarios, quick drives, free roams, and routes. Okay, Cone Pass modernised and the Donna Pass Redux routes are excellent, aren't they? Yes, they really breathe a lot of life into those routes. Right, it's stopped. And this is the East Coast Main Line. Why do I keep calling it the East Coast Main Line? This is the North East Corridor platforms, the ones you'd be driving the HS64 through. Rutherford. Yes, Crucible, North East Corridor. So you've got North East Corridor going into the tunnels for Penn Station about here. This is Hoboken, and then we're heading up that way. Bluebell's an amazing railway, isn't it? Paddy the Pro. And the workshop version of Bluebell Railway is stunning. They've done a superb job of it. F-Door, do you recommend the Bedford to London route? I would recommend that you ask the viewers. I'll pass that recommendation on to the viewers. What do you think, viewers? Do you recommend the Midland Main Line, London to Bedford? There is a Danny merge that will actually link via a couple of other routes, London to Brighton, with Brighton to Bedford, and you can drive from Brighton to Bedford. The North Clyde lines, including Helensburgh and Balloch to Glasgow. In fact, yes, that is a really good route from Brighton. Good shout, Francois. Peter YouTube, no, this is a workshop route that someone in the community has made in their own time, and I'm just running it to share the love, basically, and encourage everyone to take a look at more routes on Steam Workshop. Download this one and have a look at it if you're interested. And completely ignore the speed limits like I do. This is where we're taking the right turn to come across here and left up here. It's all a bit swampy around here. King's Cross, 1950, 1960 steam era, yeah. So something else that other people have asked occasionally is, what happened to the three routes that came in the original Railworks release, which was Hebron North, Seaburg Barn and Castle Rock Railroad, because they were dropped later on as of TS2012, and they're actually available on Steam Workshop, so you can go and download those now from Steam Workshop, and still resurrect them and play them to heart's content. They were still good routes. But you'll need to download obviously get the requirements for them as well. But yes, Hebron North, Seaburg Barn, and the my brain's not working. Castle Rock Railroad are all there on Steam Workshop waiting for you. It's good, isn't it, Jay? It's really good, this route, and the detail just does not quit. It doesn't stop. You can really tell that this is a personal passion project. So that's an interesting point, Siddharth. A lot of there are a number of routes that require Marias Pass or Stevens Pass. And unfortunately those are not available in the UK. They're available outside of the United States because of the BNSF license restrictions. But that's why they're not. You can't pick those up. There's lovely little little set scenes that just bring everything to life, including the pup. Just a car sitting over there. Well, all of these assets will be borrowed from other routes, because workshop routes, there they go, can't have custom assets. They must use reuse assets, which makes them a lot smaller to download, and removes any potential for copyright problems. Just the detail in all of these marshlands is just incredible. It's something like this would be this is when you think about easy bits to make and hard bits to make in a route. The easier bits are actually the bits that you think are harder, things like towns, because there's stuff there to do. Whereas marshlands and areas like this are the harder bit to do, because there's basically nothing. And how do you represent nothing? Well, the answer is it's not really nothing, but it's just not interesting. So it's a real talent or skill or talent for artists to identify and pick out what is interesting and recreate that in the game. It's one of the real skills that route builders, the really good route builders, pick up. Coming up on Rutherford. What's my favourite camera angle view? If I'm not streaming, that. This is where I drive normally when I'm on my own, because I want to focus on what I'm doing. If I'm streaming, I'll try and show a variety of different camera views, just to keep it more interesting. But it depends, because sometimes in German routes in particular, if you've got safety systems going on, then you need to stay in the cab to hear them and react to them appropriately. Phenomenal though, isn't it? For those of you just joining, we're running a workshop route created by a member of the community called Minerman 146. The route is called New York Division Bergen Line. You can get this on Steam Workshop as a free download. You just need to make sure that you own all of the dependent assets that it says it requires, which will be in the workshop page. There's a lot of dense scenery on this route. You will find it taxes your machine a bit harder than some of the other ones. But then, it's a super detailed route, so... Pulling into Rutherford. ECML northeast, yes indeed. Chris Darren Porter's done a number of really cool routes. See, one of the things that I really like, that I appreciate the detail for, is look at all the curbing that's been added in this. The time and attention that's been added to getting all of this curbing in. It just makes everything look so much more real. There's a lot of detail getting all that in. But it adds such a level of polish. P3 Ron, this is Train Sim 2020, not Train Sim World. You get them both on Steam. Train Sim World is newer, but there's less content for it. Train Sim 2020, this one is older and has a much wider variety of content available for it. So it's really a mix of the two. About, you know, there isn't, whether one is better or not depends on what you want to do with it. Personally, I prefer Train Sim World. I play it more often, but it's also my job. But then there's still a lot of times I come back to this because there's just stuff I can't do in Train Sim World that is brilliant to do in here. Garfield. Just need to make sure we don't come here on Mondays. I believe that Keith Moore, that the author Minor Man is actually an engineer. Splendid, splendid route. It's just, wherever you look, there's things to see. Why on a Monday? You need to know Garfield to get that joke. Going through a bit of an industrial area of the route at the moment. Speed a bit. Hey there, True Gamer. The way you quickly travel ahead in free cam to get awesome view is amazing. So let me give you a quick camera tour then. So press the 8 key, hold down the right mouse button and look around. Forwards are the up arrow key, down arrow key, left arrow key, right arrow key. So this gets you move forward and you can look around. You can slide over by pressing the right arrow key and the forward arrow key. Just get a bit comfortable with like standard first person controls. And then if you press the shift key, it accelerates you. So you can catch up with your train. And then I can tuck it in here. Use the mouse wheel to zoom in. Right, so come back to the cameras again. So you press the shift key to accelerate. If you then fly up a bit, you can go even faster. I'm travelling much faster now, which means you can get way ahead of a train, which is really good if your train's doing like 300 kilometers an hour. But it means that you can, it's the height you're going will determine how fast your camera moves. The control up and control down let you do sliding up and down. Is it because the air's thinner up there? Probably Slim Gaming, yes. So it's really just a question of getting used to the controls and practicing them with them. If you've got a game controller, which I haven't got mine plugged in, then that's even better. You can get much better views using the game controller because it's much smoother and you can swoop and fly. But the keyboard is still good. You can get some good shots with the keyboard. The aim is that, yes, we're trying out themed nights, doing different things. So yeah, Wednesday is our workshop day. So if there's stuff that you think I should be showing on Workshop Wednesdays, then let me know. I'm always a fan of showcasing the work that community makes, because there's some amazing stuff there being made, and a lot of people don't necessarily know that it exists or how to get to it, and they're missing out on such amazing stuff. Do make sure if you download something from Steam Workshop that if you like it, give them a thumbs up on the item, and if you are tempted to give them a thumbs down because you don't like it for some reason, and that's fair enough, please leave a comment. In fact, either way, leave them a comment, even if it's to say, hey, thanks. But if you do a thumbs down, one of the most frustrating things for content creators is when they start getting thumbs down on content and they've got no idea why, so they don't know what to do to improve it. So if you are tempted to give a thumbs down, then do leave a comment why. Personally, I would say don't do the thumbs down, just leave a comment and just don't give it a thumbs up. I think thumbs down is a bit negative. People have spent hundreds, in this case thousands of hours working on this content, and if it's not to your taste, that's fine, but there's nice ways that you can express to people what you like and dislike. Look at this.
It's here.
Oh, okay, I'll be there in a bit.
No, it's here.
Oh, that's mine, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, put it on the floor, please. That's my daughter, everybody. But again, I'm just focusing on this because it's just a really interesting little bit of scenery that's been created out of the individual bits. Right, I put the brakes on because I realised I was wandering around and not paying enough attention to what I was doing. Could we get a workshop in TSW potentially? We need an editor first. Is the people actually getting on or off a train? They do, yes. The kid's working for Deliveroo now. Apparently so. That wasn't the plan for dinner. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but never mind. Any plans to do a London Underground sim? Nothing announced yet, no. What sort of London Underground line would you like to see? Cameron is doing very well, Jay. He's doing graphic design, and he's made up a for his project. He's made up a fictional railway company, and he's doing a whole branding portfolio, reskinning the trains in Train Simulator, following his branding style guides, creating the. He's even taken his smart card for one of the railways, and put new logos and brandings on it, so it looks like it's from his railway company that he's made up. It's really cool. Does dinner involve Marmite in any way? It involves not having Marmite. Yes, only. What line is this one, Wanda? This is the New York Division Bergen line. So we started in Hoboken and we are working our way north, all the way up to the Glen Rockborough Hall. Looking to build the Danbury branch on the New Haven line. Yeah, that's another one that's ripe for being built. There's 2 or 3 branches, I think, on the New Haven line that would be good to see built. There's only one that was actually included. London Underground Circle line. Interesting. Yeah, Waterbury and Danbury, that was it. Nestle and Loft is on Workshop now as well, isn't it, Chris? Yes. There's just so many great workshops on routes on Steam Workshop. No, Danbury branch isn't. It's one of the other ones. I can't remember the name of it is now because my memory's useless. But no, there is a branch on it. It's not the Danbury one because the Danbury one's a bit on the longer side. New Canaan, that's it. New Canaan. The New Canaan branch is quite short. Danbury, I think, is probably a good 10 or 15 miles, I think. Steam Master, they will be the topic of future Workshop Wednesdays, yes. They were on my mind this evening, actually, as I was looking around. More like 30 for Danbury, yeah. I knew it was on the longer side. Right, Broadway Fairlawn in a couple of miles. Pull the camera out a bit so you can see more of the tremendous amounts of detail just along the line side here. Oh dear. The red light's there. Never mind. It doesn't seem to have got in our way. It won't because it's a standard scenario. And sometimes the signalling on workshop routes won't work 100%, so you do need to bear with it a bit. And it's partly because of the way signalling works in the game. It's incredibly complicated. So you'll find that you just have to be a little bit more forgiving with the signalling. It may also be down to my dodgy scenario making, so. Right, let's power down. We'll be stopping at Broadway Fairlawn shortly. Chris, I'm going to run the One House Railway very shortly. True Gamer, you don't use mods, not your thing. That is fair enough. One of the nice things about getting mods from Steam Workshop, though, True Gamer, is it's easy. You're not messing about with lots of different stuff. As long as you've got the DLC requirements, you click the install button and the stuff works. I know that I've been following this route now, Glen Egout, for years. Right, where have we got to? Broadway Fairlawn. We're going to Redburn next. And then to Glen Rockborough. But as you can see, the route carries on going and going and going, and I've not even looked up here to see what happens up here. Right, time to go to Redburn. You shouldn't have any problems with these, True Gamer, but I completely respect the view. I know in a lot of cases, I mean, I only use Workshop mods myself. I don't use anything that's not on Workshop or on Steam, just because, yeah, you can get to a point where the effort required to make it all work again is not what you were planning on doing that evening. I don't know what the mileage is on the route, Tordak. We're always looking, Sassy Circle, we're always looking at ways to try and improve the passenger densities. There's two factors that affect the passenger density or the ability that's holding it back. One of them is the performance, just having lots of passengers wandering around. That's less of an issue. The system actually copes with a lot of passengers. In some of our tests, we've had 1,000 visible on the screen without massive performance problems. The problem is more that when you get beyond the logic that the passengers use to walk around is fairly dumb, which means they bump into each other and get stuck, and so that logic needs to be improved quite a bit to allow us to make the passengers cleverer, so that they don't just all crash into each other all over the place. So having lower density of passengers means that you don't suffer from that problem quite as much. PC has a higher density than console because the console suffer from the performance more. Consoles therefore have got the number of passengers dialed down. PCs have it dialed up to take advantage of the bigger hardware on the PCs. Right, this is Radburn, which is our penultimate station, and I'm only giving you a short glimpse of this route. There's a lot more to see on this route, so I thoroughly recommend, if you've got the dependencies for it, go and give it a download and give the author some love. You can merge some routes together. Danny has done it, but the route has to be built to be merged. So there's two factors primarily that involve whether or not a route can be merged. One of them is what's called the origin of the route. So when you first create a route, if you go into the new route box and you type, the first thing it asks you pretty much, other than the name, is what's the origin, which is the latitude and longitude for the center point of the route. And then everything is built relative to that center point of the route. So if you want to merge two routes together that aren't built with exactly the same origin, what happens is that all of them that just don't work. Essentially, all of it. It's difficult to explain because you think to yourself, well, surely there is there. How can it not be? But because of the way the maths work internally, essentially, if you imagine that it's how far away it is from the centre, it's this far along and this far down to get to the centre. Well, then all of a sudden the coordinate systems don't work anymore if you try and merge them together. So the first thing is the origins have got to be the same, and the second thing is that the texture palette, which is used particularly on the ground textures, has to be the same, and they have to have the same slots. So how it happens, for example, is you've got like a grassy or a sandy or muddy textures on here, and let's say this is in slot 0 and this other one is in slot 1. If the route you merge in uses slot 0 for under the water and slot 1 for rock face, then one of the routes now is going to look really, really bad. So there's just 2 or 3 things that have to be right for a route to be mergeable. And Danny has pretty much merged, I think, all of the routes that can be merged at the moment. Correct me if I'm wrong, Danny. So the New Haven route with the Springfield route, well, they're in different periods. So you'd be merging, you'd end up with a bit of a weird hybrid of ultra-modern with 1960s. So it doesn't really match, and I don't think they have the same origin. They certainly don't have the same palettes. How easy is a train to control, Michael Scott? Very. This is a pretty easy train to control. I've got a key for if I switch to this side, you've got a key for the throttle, which is this one, the reverser, which you don't really touch, you're only ever going forwards, and then this one is your brake. And most trains have got these simple controls on them. They're very straightforward. And they pretty much match. You can operate these controls if you want to, the real ones in the cab. And they pretty much match up. That's the throttle, that's the reverser, that one is the brake. So if I do the stop with the full HUD on so that you can see it. Right, we're coming around to our final station. So as we're finishing this one up, just a reminder, this is the New York line, New York Division Bergen line by Minerman 146. It's on Steam Workshop. There's a few dependencies that you need to be able to run it. Make sure you've got those. But I thoroughly recommend this one as being well worth a look. There's some really, really good scenery on this. Really good scenery. And such a huge attention to detail. And it's quite a substantial route. I mean, you've got the possibility to do freight. You've got the big Norfolk Southern Yard here, and more sidings here. And you've got all sorts of little industries all the way up and down the line. You've got the Ford motor plant here, so there's lots of stuff that you can do on this route, up and down the route, as well as just running the passenger stuff. I believe there will be only me. I'm not entirely sure how that's going to work yet. So this is our first week we're doing some of these things, so I'm not entirely sure how some of it's going to always work, but we'll see. Anyway, this is the New York Line Bergen division, and we're almost finished for this evening. But I wanted to show 10 minutes or so of a route that is a bit different, to be honest. I'm just waiting for it to go back to the menu. Let me bring this up. If I select the right filter, we might be well on our way to success. So this is the, it's loading now. So this route that I'm loading now is a TS2020 model of a model railway. And it's just phenomenal how Phil TR, PJT, has managed to capture the essence of the model railway. Bear in mind that Phil had never visited or seen the model railway in person. He'd only seen pictures of it and videos of it, and he used this to be able to recreate it. Now I'm using a scenario created by a user called Steven Jam. So this is a double whammy in workshop content. So this is a workshop route with a bit of workshop scenario, so that we can run that. See you later, Crucible. And when I'm not going to do any driving on this one. I'm just going to fly around it and sort of show off some of what's going on, and we can see the trains moving around. There are some playable scenarios that's been authored for it, and this route is marked as final, so there is about half a dozen bits of content on there. So this is it. This is a model railway. It looks like a model railway, doesn't it? It's absolutely phenomenal. Can anyone recognise where this room is? Because you might be thinking, hang on a minute, where is there a room in a train sim route that you've used? You can't make your own assets. Can anyone recognise where this route is? Suffolk, says Moogie. No, I mean this room. Where does this room asset come from? Shall I give you a clue? Well, it involves going up here, across here, through here. Is this ringing any bells yet to anybody? This is the holiday route. The room is in the holiday route, the original holiday route. And then what Phil has done is he's recreated the model railway with loads and loads of individual assets. So this whole bench wasn't here in the original route, of course, and he's created the bench and everything around it. Mocked up some little controls. This is the Victoria Station, with the extra lines over there running to the turntable and the sheds. You've got the main sidings over here. What we've got going on down here? We've got some trains running along down here. This is a Kimberley station. Just a phenomenal model, but above and beyond just being a phenomenal model, it's really innovative in that it shows how, because it looks like a model railway, and yet these aren't model trains. These are the real full-size trains. So he's scaled everything up, essentially. As the whole premise of the giant room was, and it just really gives off that really cool feeling of the model railway. I sometimes put a camera here when we're running sessions. Yes, this is a model of my dad's model railway. Alex likes trains. This is the one house model railway. Is the camera car in there? No. So this is over by Dad's got some buildings in here with cameras, camshafts. One of the cameras is there for our sessions, and then the other one is kind of over here. And then there's another bar up in the middle, which gives the camera that sort of looks a bit like that. There's hidden sections, which Phil has modelled as well. So you come out of this station here into sort of the hidden loopbacks. This is where the underground Ernie person would sit in the real one. It's a crazy good model, isn't it? It's just, there's so much detail. None of this stuff exists. So it's all been recreated by just assembling different bits and pieces together. Really, really cleverly. So this is one of the middle tiers. This is what we call the level 4, leading to Victoria Junction. And then over here, we've got the main underground, which splits off, and this is where you can zoom in. So if you've seen the camera car, you'll recognise this junction. Coming round here. This is then the storage loops down here. So all the storage loops are modelled. You can create scenarios for this that mimic the operations we do on the railway. And comes out here. Rather than just wandering around there, we'll get back out so we can see what's going on the railway. Pacer hype. This scenario, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned, is by Stephen Jam. It is called... They won't tell me what it's called. Excellent. There'll be a link to it when it comes up. I think Stephen Jam's only done the one, so it's that one. Why passengers security if we don't get off the train at the last stop? So it's a feature that's supposed to be in the game. Sassy Circle doesn't quite work. There are things that don't quite work about it, and it's back with the engineers to make it work properly. So yeah, if you have any familiarity with the One House Royal Railway, I'm sure it looks familiar. But even if you haven't, doesn't it just whet the appetite for thinking maybe we can use the tools and the assets and use this as an idea to sort of think, well, how can we make other model railways along these lines? Can you make your model railway in train sim using this style of approach? That's, I think, one of the really cool things that that Phil has done here is he's demonstrated how to do something so different to what you might be used to. Let's go and have a look at Victoria Station. There's some really cool shunting puzzles and things that some authors, Phil himself, PJT, uploaded a number of different bits of gameplay and content for it. Rogue HST. There's tremendous bits of detail on it. Tremendous bits of detail. Yes, you can find this on the workshop as under the name One House Model Railway. This is the Bay platform by Phil Tier. Again, links will be going up on social media at some point. See you later, enemy. I'm about done now anyway. So that was pretty much what I wanted to show. So tonight we've run the Great Eastern Main Line from Traction Depot. We've run the New York Division Bergen line from Minerman 146, and we've run the model of the One House Model Railway by Phil Tier. and then this scenario on there was by Stephen Jam. So huge shout out to the content creators, whether I've shown you on this stream or not. I really appreciate everything you're doing and everything you're sharing, and so does everybody that's downloading it and enjoying it. If you've learned about how you get stuff off Steam Workshop, then that's fantastic. If you've got any questions, jump on the forums and someone will help you about how you access it. And this is Workshop Wednesday, folks. So next Wednesday we'll try and have a look at some more content, and I'll try and pick out some stuff that looks interesting. And well, it's all interesting. What am I saying? You know what I mean, though. And we'll take a look at some more. All right, folks. Thank you very much indeed for watching. And I will catch you. I can't remember when I'm back. Actually, I can't remember the schedule. I'll catch you on another evening, 5 o'clock every day this week, though. Okay, 5 o'clock every day this week. It'll be me and Sam one day or the other doing stuff. All right, folks. Take care, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.